For 6 months, I thought I had the perfect roommate. Quiet, clean, never missed rent, never caused problems. Then I came home one Tuesday afternoon to find my apartment completely empty. My laptop, my camera, my grandmother's jewelry, my emergency cash, gone. Every single thing that mattered vanished, along with him. But here's the part that still makes my skin crawl. He hadn't just left that day. He'd been planning it for weeks, right under my nose, while I smiled at him over morning coffee. Welcome back to the Untold Verdict, where every story has two sides and you're the judge. Tonight's story is one of the most unsettling I've ever come across. Let's get into it. It started the way most roommate situations do. A Craigslist post and a desperate need to split rent. I'd just moved to a new city for work. Didn't know many people. Didn't have time to be picky. I posted a listing for the spare room in my apartment, got a dozen responses, and after a few awkward meetings in coffee shops, one guy stood out. His name was Daniel, mid-30s. Worked remotely in some kind of IT consulting role. Calm, well-spoken, had references from two previous landlords, both of whom I actually called. Both said the same thing. Quiet guy. No drama. Always paid on time. I signed the lease addendum the same week, and for the first month, everything they said checked out. Daniel kept to himself mostly. He'd make his coffee in the morning, nod in my direction, disappear into his room for most of the day. We weren't friends. More like two people sharing a space, which honestly was exactly what I wanted. Month 2, same thing. Month 3, still nothing. No parties, no loud phone calls, no dishes in the sink. He was, by every measurable standard, the ideal roommate. I started telling people about him like he was some kind of miracle. My coworkers couldn't believe it. My friends were jealous. I actually used the words, "I got lucky," more than once. I want you to remember that because it matters later. It was around month 4 that I started noticing small things. Nothing alarming, just slightly off. My laptop charger wasn't where I left it one morning. I found it in the kitchen. Figured I'd just forgotten. A coat I hadn't worn in a while was hanging in a different spot in my closet. Again, easy to rationalize. One evening, I came home and my bedroom door was slightly ajar. I always shut it fully. Always. But I figured maybe the latch hadn't caught properly. I mentioned none of this to Daniel. Because individually, none of it meant anything, right? That's what I told myself. Then, one night, I woke up at around 2 a.m. to use the bathroom. The hallway light was on. Just a thin strip of light under Daniel's door. And I could hear something. Very faint. Like the sound of someone moving around slowly. Carefully, deliberately. I stood there in the dark hallway for probably 30 seconds. Then the sound stopped. The light went off, and I told myself I was being paranoid. I went back to bed. I should not have gone back to bed. On a Tuesday in month 6, I left for work at the usual time, regular day. Nothing unusual about the morning. Daniel's coffee cup was in the drying rack like always. His shoes were by the door. His jacket was on the hook. I came home at 5:30. The shoes were gone. The jacket was gone. I walked into my room and stood in the doorway for what felt like a full minute before my brain caught up with what my eyes were seeing. My laptop, gone. The camera I'd saved up for, gone. The small fireproof box I kept in my closet with my emergency cash and my grandmother's ring, gone. His room was completely empty. Bed frame, dresser, everything. Like he'd never been there at all. Not a scrap of paper. Not a forgotten sock. Nothing. I called the police. Filed a report. Gave them Daniel's full name, his number, his references. Every single one of them was fake. The phone number was a burner. The references were disconnected numbers. The name on his ID, I later found out, belonged to someone who had died 11 years earlier. He was a ghost, and I had willingly let him into my home for 6 months. The police were honest with me. Without a real identity or a real address, cases like this go cold fast. They told me to contact my renter's insurance, change my locks, and hope. I did all three, and then I sat in my gutted apartment and felt sick. But I couldn't let it go. I went back through everything I could think of. Every interaction, every odd moment, every time something felt slightly off. And then I remembered something. About 3 months in, Daniel had asked me for the Wi-Fi password, said his phone kept dropping the connection. I'd given it to him without thinking. Now, I'm not a tech expert, but I have a friend who is, and when I told him what happened, he asked me one question. Do you still have access to your router logs? I did. And when he pulled them up, we found something that made everything suddenly, horribly clear. For the last 6 weeks, Daniel had been connecting a second device to my Wi-Fi network. Not his phone, a laptop, at times when I was never home. Midday, late evenings when I worked overtime, he was mapping my schedule, learning exactly when the apartment was empty and for how long. More than that, the IP activity showed he'd been accessing real estate listings, specifically furnished short-term rentals, within a 5-mile radius of our apartment. He hadn't just left. He'd moved, nearby, using the Wi-Fi I'd handed him like a welcome gift to case the place, time his exit, and set up his next location. We handed everything to the police. 3 weeks later, I got a call from a detective. They'd found him, not because of the router logs, though those helped narrow the radius. They found him because he'd done it again. Same pattern. New city, different name, different victim. Except this time, the new roommate had a newer router, one that flagged unusual device activity and sent an automatic alert to their phone. He was arrested 2 states away. Turned out Daniel, whatever his real name was, had been running this exact scheme in 4 different cities over 8 years. Moving in, staying clean, gaining trust, then vanishing with everything that mattered. The victim count, once they started putting it together, was 17 people. I was number 15. My laptop was never recovered. Neither was the cash. But they did find my grandmother's ring, still in the fireproof box, in a storage unit he'd rented under yet another fake name. I got it back 6 months later. So here's what I keep coming back to. Every warning sign was there. The sounds in the night, the moved objects, the charger in the wrong room, the door left open. I rationalized every single one of them because the big picture looked fine, because he was quiet and paid rent on time. We're wired to ignore small wrongness when the overall situation feels comfortable. And people who do what he did, they know that. They count on it. So, was I just unlucky? Or should I have trusted my instincts sooner? Drop your verdict in the comments. And if this story made you check your own router settings tonight, honestly, good. You probably should. This has been the Untold Verdict. Every side of the story. You decide.